So I've been going through your profile online, Skywalker Yachts, and it looks like you guys are offering a more premium, luxury version of a service that exists in the market already. Do you want to explain how are you guys different from the other competitors?
What's the difference between Emirates and Air Arabia?
What are a few habits that help you become a successful entrepreneur?
No, there's a few.
There's a few? Let's talk about them all.
No.
What is that one non-negotiable rule that you have on the boat for your guests?
Poorer weather days, where it would be uncomfortable for some, maybe not for experienced sailors, but for the general public, we would choose.
If you were to start this business all over again, what is it that you'll do different?
I probably wouldn't start it.
Why?
It's not just about what we're doing here, it's actually our global presence, but it originates from here. And that's a success story.
Everyone loves the idea of beers on a yacht, but what does it really take to run that business? The Dubai yacht life looks glamorous, but behind every party, there is a serious operations. If you ever wondered what it really takes to build a luxury experience business in Dubai, this episode is for you. This is Simon Wickham, and this is the Unseen List. Hi, Simon. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. My pleasure.
For people who only see yachts on Instagram, what is it that you do today?
What is it we do? We offer yacht services in the UAE and experiences on board.
Before the Skywalker project, what is it that you were doing? When did you come to Dubai? What is it that you were doing in the UK?
Okay. So following graduation, I started in property and built a renewable energy company. Was working on that for many years. And then that evolved and I felt like I wanted to fall back into a passion as a long-term goal. And I'd been sailing from an early age and I was blessed with that experience. And I always had a big passion for yachts and for the water. So I really wanted to pursue my interest in that.
So before business, this was already your lifestyle that you wanted to change it into a full-fledged business.
Yeah, this was never the plan, but it became part of the plan. I always wanted to choose something which I had passion for. And, you're always going to give it your best if you love your work. So I'm very blessed with the position we're at today.
So were you always entrepreneurial or did that come in later?
I think naturally I probably had that characteristic. I think, it was evident from early on. I'm always very conscious and commercially minded. So I wanted to take my hand and, you're always learning. Even today, I'm still learning, but I feel like I've got a good grip on running a business.
Is this your first business?
No. Like I said, I started a renewable energy company back in the UK, which is very successful, regionally based in the southeast of England. And that grew into a nice size. And then that was then purchased by a large construction company.
Right. So, and what year did you come to Dubai?
2013 was the year I came. I was given an opportunity to come and manage and oversee the growth and the running of another brand of yachts. So, and it gave me a taste of what the market is here, how it's configured, and where the holes are, where it can be fixed.
So, do you want to take a deep dive in telling us how were the initial years? Because I guess you've spent close to 13 years in the country. So how were the initial years? How was the shift moving from a lifestyle in the UK coming to a country like UAE?
Well, it's always nice to be surrounded by good weather all year round, despite obviously the heat in the summer. It's bright every day. It's very interesting here in terms of the red tape and the diplomacy. So it was an interesting structure to adapt to. Obviously, the rules and regulations are slightly different here. The lines of communication are a little bit more complicated sometimes, but I can see it's evolved a lot over the last 13, 14 years that I've been here. So it was very educational. I learned a lot. Early days, it was tough, but I always had a focus on what we were doing here, and I never got too tied into the glitz and the glamour and the party scenes. It was all about work, really.
Are you fascinated by other lifestyle businesses such as supercars?
No, not so much. I'm not much of a petrol head, if I'm being honest. I appreciate the businesses there, and they probably fit Dubai very well. But for me, the boats on the water is where it lies in my heart.
So from the outside, it looks like you're really selling good times on water, right?
Yeah, you could say that.
But what does it actually takes to run such a business within the country?
I think it just takes a lot of focus on details. I think, you can just be an owner of a boat and you're renting a boat out, but then, there's a lot of logistics that go behind it. And the ultimate experience and the success of the business will come down to, how effective you are about the A to Z of the operation. So, early on, we understood that, it's not just about offering a shiny boat, but actually the crew need to be trained a certain way. There needs to be a certain culture on board to really get a good reputation. And that's when you're going to see growth. Otherwise, you're just as good as your last sale. So for us, we really look at this business as a growing interest, adapting more verticals to the business, which I'll explain a bit more later on, I'm sure. But yeah, so it's an interesting one.
So I've been going through your profile online, Skywalker Yachts, and it looks like you guys are offering a more premium, a luxury version of a service that exists in the market already. Do you want to explain how are you guys different from the other competitors?
What's the difference between Emirates and Air Arabia? There are different levels in this market, and I feel like we fit into a pocket which is of mass interest. But what our approach is to offer something of quality. So we tend to invest only in new vessels coming into the market. It was a hole that I saw very early on. A lot of operators are running old boats. We actually invested in our own shipyard because a lot of these boats, actually yachts are not particularly made for such high usage as charter. You see these brands like Golfcraft, which are locally made, Azimut, Princess, San Lorenzo. They're all really, they're designed to be privately owned. Somebody might take it out once a week, once a month, but sparsely used. Our yachts are going out 2 to 3 times a day. So that's huge pressure on the engine. And there's also a requirement from the consumers, whereas a 50, 60-foot private yacht will be designed for a family of 4, 5, maybe, 3 cabins. But, the demand here for a 60-foot vessel will be somebody wants to party. They want to bring 20 people on board. So we have to go through different testing. And also we design the boat slightly differently so we can accommodate more people with better space displays. So we don't have such tight areas. We really utilize the inside space as well as the outside space because here, you've got very hot days, 6 months of the year. So you want to be able to enjoy a boating experience in the summer months as well as the winter months. So I feel like we're really trying to be a specialist in our field as opposed to just having a boat on the water, which is purchased from 2010 from off the shelf brands. So like I said, we're doing things very differently. So I wouldn't begin to say that we're just a charter company. Actually, we're a builder and we're a curator for this field.
So boats are supposed to be your weekend drives only.
I think, if you look at the trend of boat ownership, these guys, they have full-time jobs or investors and they're using their boats as leisure activities, but it's like playing golf. They're not playing golf every day. They'll use their boat once a week, once a month.
So I've personally used yacht services in the last couple of years multiple times. And I've always been confused with their shape, size. I've only used them to do parties, especially when folks are coming in from out of country. My friends are visiting us. So do you want to talk about how should one actually choose a boat for the sort of event they're trying to do?
No, we host anybody from a family to a corporate environment to VVIPs, we also created this sharing experience. So we understood in the tourism market here in Dubai, it's hugely driven by FITs, which are like individual travelers, small groups who might not necessarily jump onto a boat. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to create something where they could get to experience the luxury of Dubai on the water without having to have the overhead or expense of renting a boat. So we created this luxury yacht tour experience. And today we run about 16 tours a day.
Wow.
We host about 1,500 people every day through these experiences. It's perfect for hotel guests, perfect for like couples, small groups with kids. So we have a chef on board, and it's an all-inclusive experience. You get to see the sights. So we're very blessed here because there's so much to see on the Dubai coastline compared to when I sail in Greece or Croatia, which is quite barren off the coastline. Here you've got all the iconic landmarks. They're situated along the water. So it's actually like a really fascinating way to see the city. And it's like $50 to $70 a ticket. So it's very affordable for people.
The view changes every 5 minutes.
It does, yeah. And you're also blessed with a lot of protected waters. So
Yeah.
even though when you go on a bus tour in the city, they're hugely popular. Great way to see the sights, but it's a consistent kind of environment. You're always on flat land. Here, you do have to face the elements sometimes, and you have turbulent waters, you have some high winds, some swell, but we're blessed because there's so many protected areas such as Dubai Marina, the Palm, and you can still cruise and still operate and still catch most of them through, even at the roughest days. So it's a great way to see the sights. So to answer your question, who are we hosting? I tried to open the business up to as many different consumers as possible, and I feel like we're making a huge success doing that.
And how would one choose the right size when they are sort of planning a private event? So yachts, they range from, I think, as small as 35, 40 feet for a group of 4, 5 individuals, goes to, I don't even know the highest number, right? So how would one go about choosing the right size, the right shape for a private event?
Well, usually it's driven by budget, of course. We're sitting on a very huge, brand new S60 catamaran, which has a commercial license of 45 people. But we'll have families of like 3 or 4 people take it out because I like the design. We have 58 yachts. They get to see the catalog and they get to match it themselves. You know, who to say which car you want to rent. Up to you. It's your preference. But in general terms, people will usually go by through the capacity to how many guests that they have to how much space that they require. And then the budget will be thrown in there as well.
So I'm going to tell you something very interesting because I can relate to the customer side of it, of your business. And this pretty much happens every time I take a trip on the boat, may it be an official trip, may it be a private trip. Every time a group of friends, they take a boat in the city, whether they are living in the country or they are tourists here or visiting for work. Every time they take a trip out in the waters, boys especially, they get into some sort of calculation. You know what, we are paying X amount per hour. I think they're renting it out for 6, 7, 8 hours a day. That's this much revenue per month. Let's quickly check on Dubizzle. How much is a second-hand boat? You know what, this could be a passive income, right? That's a very common conversation that happens on the boats. And I've been part of those conversations at least 10, 12 times, right? In the past couple of years. So is having a boat actually a passive income? Is that true? Are the calculations legit that these guys are doing?
I think it depends what kind of scale that you wanted to enter the market. If you wanted to run a business and be a successful one with a relatively healthy profit margin, then you need to compete. And to compete would be very difficult to enter. Not because of any financial holdbacks, but actually, there's not many places you can park a boat nowadays. So if you wanted to start a business, you need to start with a good 5 vessels to 10 vessels. If you want to run it as a business with an operations team, an accounting team, captain, crew, obviously they're going to be under the contracts, sales team, obviously to generate the business. What is your market appeal? If you're one man with one boat, you have to be realistic with how appealing is your market going to be to you. And there's only one sunset a day, which is obviously the prime time everybody wants to take the boat. So what, you're going to run a business doing one trip a day for 3 hours? It won't be very profitable or successful. Is my feedback. So it's about, the scale of economy. The more boats you have, you can start to command the market a little bit more.
I think it's one of those emotions wherein once you rent it, you're immediately fascinated and you imagine yourself in that lifestyle, that if you own that on a permanent basis, what sort of a lifestyle you can have on your weekends. So I think the emotion is very similar to people having their vacation homes and then going out on vacation once or twice a year. But let's admit, a boat is a vehicle, right? I mean, you gotta need a parking, you gotta put an operation staff. It's much more difficult than managing a standalone house.
Well, because there's a lot more mechanics to it.
Of course.
So, we have a maintenance team of over 15 engineers and across 58 boats. They're busy guys every day, especially when you're running a fleet to, 2 to 3 charters a day, 300 odd charters a week. So there's a lot more to think about. If you're a domestic user, and I appreciate being on a boat. Like I started a business with the same dream, but I had the reality and the realization of how to achieve and command the market more. But as a group of individuals that might be in a syndicate, but they want to contribute towards a boat, I would recommend it. Do it because it's fun. You'll have a boat to play around on, and you'll cover a few bills. But if you're looking at it from a commercial perspective, then you have to look at the business from an A to Z perspective, and that's from parking to the technical side of things, which are probably a little bit more boring than just enjoying the boat. But most businessmen will understand that.
Do you still enjoy the glamour, or is it all work to you now?
Do I enjoy do you know what? I just like walking into work every morning, and I'm surrounded by water. I'm surrounded by the boats. We have a really great team that are very, the morale is very good within the company. So I'm just in a happy place, and I'm not really thinking about the glitz and glamour. I'll be honest, to me, yachts are like caravans on water. They're not particularly glitz and glamoury. If you start talking about, mega yachts, and they're a different category. But for me, yachts are, like I said, they're a vehicle on the water. There's something to have a bit of fun on. I wouldn't say there's so much glitz and glamour to it.
While growing up, did you have a boat in the family, or was it something that you were doing with your family as well?
I was taught to sail by my uncle, who had a big 44-foot Bavaria, and that sparked off the interest and my love for sailing. So that was then following that, I would charter a boat every year, maybe twice a year, and I would go and live on the boat for a month. I would go sailing around Greece, Croatia, Dalmatian coast, and it was nice. It's just a nice pastime, and it got me looking into the commercial aspect of the business a little bit more. Now it's a bit different here in Dubai because there's not so many sailboats. They're all motor yachts. I think mainly because there's not a lot of places to go and see like you would do in Greece, but and people take them out for a few hours here as opposed to days or weeks that we're doing in Europe. So the market is definitely different. But yes, to answer your question, it's been a pastime for a long time for me. Yes.
What would you say is one of the toughest thing while running a fleet of 60 boats? Because when you scale up, things start to break.
Agreed. I think the most tricky thing is consistency. So I really try to have a focus on the staff from the recruitment stage, which we're hiring people with the right mindset, and that we're encouraging them through their journey with us. There's a culture here in Dubai, especially in our field, where a lot of the ground level workers will be a little bit oppressed. But I want everybody to feel appreciated here, so it attracts the best talent and it encourages consistency. So we have a lot of, for example, training programs and initiatives for, when I was a junior, to become a senior, you need opportunities. So what we try to do here, and I put programs in place, is there are crew. Of course, their natural line of progression will be to become a captain. So, we want to keep our employees in the company. So we will invest in them to do their licenses, and they will give them on-the-job training as well whilst they're working, to progress them and to evolve them into their successors, into captains. And so far to date, the program's been running for about 18 months, and we've already initiated 24 new captains into the company, which is great. And you can really see that across the loyalty and the consistency of the quality in the company. That rolls on to the guest experience, because you're not always bringing in new staff who are inexperienced. You've got culture within the company. They know what they're doing. The guest feels confident from the second that they come into the marina. And we're always evolving and learning as well as a company, how to stay at the front. So for us, again, I would say the most difficult thing is to keep that consistency, but we have a really good, solid plan and training programs that help that, from the stewardesses, and their culinary experiences to these, beautiful things that they do on board. We just look at people as individuals as opposed to a mass, which it could easily be. And once you start generalizing your company, then you start to offer a very general experience. If you want to be exceptional, then you need to look at details.
What would you say is the share between the B2B and B2C business that you guys generate?
I think that's confidential. But I would give you an insight that we work with over 950 local and international partners.
Wow.
From Emirates to huge DMCs to individual brokers who are sitting on a beach in Spain,
Yeah.
So what we offer them is to be like a master operator for their business. So it's a huge part of our business, where we have a lot of online OTA, which is like an online travel agency traffic, and they're more directed towards the sharing tour experiences. And then we have a lot and growing segment of the business, which is obviously residents and the tourists coming in. We're still although we're the largest now in Dubai, we're still a very company in its infancy in terms of our years on the market. But and a lot of it is over time, so we see it growing considerably every year. Our traction for our, let's call it B2C market.
Yeah.
But it's it's all about feedback, so it's monitored closely.
Are there any systems that you have developed over time in your business so that you can be at peace and the operations run on autopilot? Let's say when you're traveling yourself, you're on vacation, you're on a business trip.
I feel like you're punting me software. Yes, of course. Like it's difficult to run a business of our size in our market with so many different source markets coming in with an off-the-shelf package. So we've really had to bespoke a lot of what we do digitally and internally, and create our own policies and systems. So from everything to an online booking platform, there are off-the-shelf packages, but they're very limited. So we did that at an early stage, but with view to grow. So I know exactly where we want to be going, where we want to be. So, all the systems are designed not to adapt along the way, but to offer that from the offset.
Are the compliance difficult in this country when it comes to owning a yacht business?
I don't like to use the word difficult, because I think the compliance is a necessity. And, without compliance, then you have very loose and unsafe conditions for consumers. So, compliance is good and it keeps the bad operators away. So I think it definitely has got better, I would say. And by better, I mean stronger. And yes, it definitely is improving. I think we're more, they're more looking at it as a serious concern, especially with, the nature of where the boats are and the amount of risks that come attached with, mobilizing a piece of fiberglass on the water.
So I see a lot of parties keep happening on the yachts, especially within this weather in the country. How do you balance guest experience versus safety? Is it something wherein you have to get yourself involved, or your crew has to be involved with the guests a lot? Or
every day. Like, we are subject to weather, and you're not sailing in perfect conditions every day. So we have obviously we rely on the Coast Guard and their assessment of the weather. We're obviously experienced sailors as well within the company, so we will make our own assessments. And like I said earlier, we're privileged with a lot of protected waters. So on like more, let's say, a poorer weather days, where it would be uncomfortable for some, maybe not for experienced sailors, but for the general public, we would choose and advise safer and more enjoyable routes for consumers. And that's communicated from the management every day down to the crew level. So guests need to come to us with the confidence that we're not just going to send them out in unsafe conditions. It will never happen.
Yeah.
So it is it's always a concern. not a concern, but it's always a point of discussion and something which we need to be aware of. Ultimately, our objective is everybody has a good time on board. So we have to forecast if there's anything which would attribute to them not having a good time.
Interesting.
And that would be to the weather, to even, somebody in a group of 40, 50 people, you're going to have a few people that don't have their sea legs.
Yeah.
So even in good, calm conditions, they may come foul for seasickness. So again, we would advise them, have a piece of bread before the trip. We try to encourage good practice as much as we can. So we have good end results. But I think by our, you can see by the response in the industry regarding our company that, we are looking at it from A to Z.
I myself get seasick a lot. So every time I'm on a boat, I have only one condition to my friends that I'm fine by doing a yacht party, but let's not go in the heavy waters, right? Let's just go. So there is a route that you guys take. Not the Atlantis one, but the one before that.
Yeah, under the palm.
Yeah, under the palm. Yeah. That's for me is the safest sort of route.
Yeah, and actually for me, going out, it's the most pleasurable route. Only those that really want to go and have a few photos outside of the Atlantis and Royal Atlantis, they're the ones that like to brave the open ocean.
Yeah.
And usually you can do it without any issue. But if there is a bit of a swell and you've got a lot of people on board, then it's probably best to just be conscious of the other people that are there as well, that they might not be as brave and as able as you are, But, I agree. I think like anchoring underneath the lagoon, we have a beautiful backdrop of the skyline here in the JBR. It's magical, and there's a lot of breakwaters there.
Yeah.
It's the best place to keep the boat if you want to have a party of scale.
What kind of founders thrive in this space and who usually struggles?
I think those that struggle and haven't considered scale and the total cost of investment. And they're also looking at consumers with dollar signs as opposed to building a reputable company. To answer that question, I think they struggle the most, and they don't really understand the level of competition and the loyalty. Because, when you've been in the market 12 years, as we have, 12 to 15 years, it takes a lot to start breaking into that market. You have to establish everything from scratch. So it's, you need to have a clear perspective on where you want to go. And just by offering a cheaper price, which is the business strategy for many operators, it lasts a year and then they realize actually it doesn't work. And they soon exit the market. Every year I see 100 come and I see 2 stay.
Can you tell the viewers what are a few habits that help you become a successful entrepreneur?
Focus, commitment, live and breathe the business. So there's no I don't feel like I have a 9 to 5 job or, I clock out. It doesn't mean you have to work like a dog and, be in the office full time, but you just need to have your attention on the business and an interest to succeed with it and a vision, where you want to be with it.
If you were to start this business all over again, what is it that you'll do different?
I probably wouldn't start it.
Why?
No, I'm joking. It's very, every day I feel like it's a fight. It's a fight to stay on top. It's a fight to make everybody pleased. There's so many different dynamics. You'll never find that it just, other than the sales coming in and you really have to push hard to make sure you have that, that 5-star review at the end of the trip and everybody's driving towards the same goal. It's endless pressure. I think I would maybe pay a little bit more attention to the recruiting process for senior positions. I think I learned that it takes, it's really important to have the best guys in the right positions. And it helps you, if you're operating at a large scale, to have a strong management line. You can't really test it to a certain degree, but it does help with the consistency and it helps the motion and the forward motion of the business.
People see the yachts, the views, the parties out there, but they don't see the machine behind it. Why do you think your story belongs on the unseen list?
Firstly, thank you for having us on the Unseen list. It's been a pleasure. We're just doing things a bit differently here. We are controllers of the verticals in the business. Nobody else is building yachts here and chartering. So, we stand alone in our own right. We're now operating internationally. We're making a lot of waves. So for us, we're just a more interesting story. And what we're producing and the reports that you'll read about Skywalker Yachts and our factory across the US and Australia, it's not just about what we're doing here. It's actually our global presence, but it originates from here. And that's a success story.
Well, thank you, Simon, for sharing this with us.
Thank you.
Until the next unseen story. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.